Hey everyone, welcome to today's session on disrupting yourself, your personal best, because you want to make sure that you always living at the highest volume of your imagination, but also at your life. All right, so welcome to today's session. All right, I'm going to take you through some things that I have learned from Whitney Johnson. Whitney Johnson is a very popular executive coach, author, and thinker from United States. So she has this book, which is quite popular. It's called Disrupt Yourself. And why do we care about disrupting ourselves? Why is that even an issue for us here now in 2020? Well, ask yourself this question. When was the last time you disrupted yourself? Or when was your life disrupted? Was it yesterday? Was it today? Was it last month? Was it this year? To say that 2020 has been an interesting year is quite an understatement, right? I mean, there's so many things that have happened in our lives that are probably we never even experienced or thought that would happen, right? So that's the case. If you don't disrupt yourself, something or someone will disrupt it on your behalf. So today, I'd like to go with you some things that you can be better prepared when disruption comes, whether it starts with you or it starts externally outside of you. Okay, so you can also follow Whitney Johnson on LinkedIn. She has a book and she has a podcast as well called Disrupt Yourself. Make sure you listen and subscribe to her and give her your support as well. All right, so Whitney Johnson, 7 levers of disruption. Number 1, you have to know how to take the right risks. Okay, I always talk about taking risks, but what does that mean? You may say, Mark, my life is already risky. I'm going out, doing the best that I can. I'm asking for help. I say, and also Whitney says as well, is that there's 2 types of risks, right? There's a market risk, and then there's the competition risk. Competition risk is, let's say you're going to college and you determine that your graduating class is going to be about 200 people. And then your major, your niche is going to be about 10 or 15 people. So you have to compete in a crowded space of so many people in your class and then yet so many people in your niche. Or you create your own niche. And she's talking about market risk. So she said, okay, if you have a niche or you see a need in a marketplace or something that there's nobody else is playing, or maybe nobody dares to play in that because it's so risky, so unpredictable, volatile, unpredictable, complex, ambiguous, but you decided to play in that risk. So the question you ask yourself is, are you competing or are you creating? And that's the question in this step, right? So take the right risks. And I love what she says, that amateurs compete, professionals create. So are you competing or are you creating? All right, number 2, double down on your strength. So what are the strengths you have right now in your life, right? So what are the things that you have in your life? And it actually says, double down on your strength and play to your distinctive advantage. A lot of times we are not a very good judge of our strength. And this may come as a surprising truth to many of you who are watching. If you remember in your own life when somebody pays you a compliment and you say, oh, why are they telling me this again? Or somebody is telling you that, wow, you're really good at this. Wow, you just have a sixth sense how to get this done. When you hear this in your brain, you think, well, this is just so natural. I always been good at this. I always been able to try this and take care of this. But the truth is, what may seem easy to you is insurmountable task for someone else. And that is your strength. So every time when somebody gives you a compliment or pays attention or elevates your strength, you have to really take a note of that. Have to take a note of that and record it and capture it. Another tool that really helps is to do a 360 assessment where your peers, your allies, and then your direct reports, maybe clients as well, give you an assessment. and then truly dig down into your strength. And what this process will tease out, it will create a map. It will create a map so you can truly understand what are your strengths. So what Whitney Johnson says is, when you play up to your strength and double down on your strength, you created an unfair competitive advantage. When somebody may be taking years or decades to get where you're going, when you can just lean into your strength and push forward. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, embrace constraints. Her mentor, Clayton Christensen, who he passed on now, is a famous author and a professor at the Harvard Business School. He wrote a book, which is a bestseller, one of them, Innovator's Dilemma. He said, embrace your constraints, and Whitney Johnson says too. So don't run away from constraints, because the argument here is the tension, the constraints will not paralyze you, but rather push you in the direction of seeking alternative resources, alternative solutions, and take action. So restraints will actually create momentum for you. So don't run away from constraints, but actually embrace them. So we had 3 so far, right? Take the right risks, double down on your strength, play up to your strength. Number 3, embrace your constraints. Number 4, battle entitlement. What the heck does that mean? Battle entitlement, right? So what she says is, a lot of times when we get together with a group of our friends, or maybe a group of our peers, or maybe just somebody that we know, there may be a tendency. So if someone says, oh, well, it's outside of my control, they should not be doing this, or they should be doing this. What this creates, it creates a sense of guilt. And instead of aspiring to a higher vision of what you can do, you lower yourself down to the level of somebody who creates entitlement with the word such as should. So battle entitlement, battle it within yourself, and then you can be an example and a role model for everyone that you meet. Nobody should do anything, or even should not do. Either take a position, take a stand, and move forward. But when you use the word should, you also fall into the victim mentality, and you let things happen to you versus making things happen. Okay, number 5, step back to grow. What does this mean? To the outside world, you taking risks, right risk, market risks, embracing failure, also playing up to your strength. It may seem like a nonsense, but to you, it is a necessary investment so you can jump to the next level of your life. Wouldn't it be great to wake up every morning and thinking, this is the best day of my life, and I did absolutely everything I could. I reached out to the right person. I was fully present in a key moment. I did not hold anything back, but I gave my full passion, my full contribution, my full love, my full care, my full curiosity at the highest possible level. Wouldn't that be the life of fulfillment, where you can go to bed knowing when you're going to sleep, you know that you did everything at the highest level? So that's what I'm talking about. Step back to grow. Invest. Have the courage to be bad at something new. Have the courage when somebody can either make fun of you or be ridiculed or be embarrassed. Step into the unknown. Stretch yourself, because that's where the growth is. Number 6, give failure its due. Which Whitney Johnson says here is that failure is not what derails us. She says shame does. When shame, it creates this negative loop in our brain, and we torpedo ourselves on our way to success. Well, she says failure, and furthermore, I agree with her argument 100%. Probably the greatest success in your life was born out the greatest failure that you have experienced. And there's no shame in failure. Failure is an event. It's not it's not a person, it's not your final verdict in life. It's just an event. When you can learn to quickly separate yourself from an event, regroup, and move forward, you find freedom. And isn't that freedom, is that what we're all here for? Freedom to be ourselves, freedom to create, freedom not to compete, but really create something of significance. So give failure its due. And number 7 from Whitney Johnson is be discovery driven. She says that 70% of all businesses end up in a completely different end up in a different sector or in a different way of doing things when they first started out. 70% of businesses. And it does make sense, right? Because we need to pivot, adjust, be flexible, be fluid to make sure that we adjust to the marketplace, to the circumstances, to the changing environment. And I understand that. When you stay curious, when you stay when you try to discover versus impose, I feel you opening up opportunities. And you really have to believe that. You can't just do a lip service, right? You have to really be curious about yourself, about things that are about yet to come, and the things that you can still create. So that's the 7 things. Okay, so it says take more risks, take the right risks, play up to your distinctive strength, embrace constraints, battle entitlement, step back to grow, give failures due, and be discovery driven. So tell me what you think about those 7 things about Disrupt Yourself from Whitney Johnson. Have you read the book? Have you listened to her podcast? Are you a fan? Let me know where you're watching from. What have you learned from this session? And where are you going in your discovery journey on personal strength? I really want to know. I love connecting with my fans, and I will see you next time. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to this channel, and share this message with everyone you care about. So long. Thank you.